Have you ever realized that the relationship between you and your dog, cat, or any other pet in your family has a deeper meaning than you think? In fact, this connection has a great spiritual impact that sometimes we do not easily realize. The Bible contains important messages about this, and what is written may surprise you, even awaken you to the fact that animals are not just companions, but also an important part of God's divine purpose. This is a truth that we sometimes overlook when we neglect their health or take their role for granted. Not only does it hurt them, but we also risk hardening our hearts, losing the compassion that God wants us to cultivate. Today, I want to share with you how loving and caring for animals can bring you closer to God. At the same time, you will gain a deeper understanding of the spiritual consequences of failing to fulfill this responsibility. What you are about to discover may completely change the way you view the role and the profound connection between humans and animals. At the dawn of creation, when the sky and the earth still echoed with the sounds of the first life, a miraculous event took place. In that vast space, God gave a command of truth that the land would bring forth living creatures after its own kind. From the dust of the ground, all creatures were formed, the mighty beasts of the plains, the birds of the air, and the countless living creatures that filled the seas. God looked upon these creatures and declared them good. They were all in harmony, perfect in the totality of His divine design. Have you ever stopped to think about this? The dogs and cats in your home, with their unwavering loyalty in their eyes, did not appear by your side by accident. They are part of God's beautiful creative plan. From the moment the universe was created, these creatures were destined to hold a special place in your life. Their presence is not accidental. They are living reminders of the goodness and beauty that God placed in this world from the beginning. Genesis 2 recounts a special moment. God creates all the animals on earth and brings them to Adam one by one. Imagine that sacred scene: Adam, his soul as pure as a mirror, connecting with his Creator, observing each animal, naming them, and understanding their purpose and nature. This act is not simply a continuation of creation, it symbolizes an unbreakable bond between humans and animals. In naming the creatures, Adam not only gave them identities, but also created an eternal bond. This is an affirmation that animals also play an important role in God's divine design. In doing so, we are reminded that each living creature around us is not simply a companion, but also has great significance in the spiritual journey that God has planned for each of us. Take a moment to think about the animals who have passed through your life. Perhaps you remember the day you adopted your beloved dog, or the moment a stray cat came to you begging for a home. Was it just a coincidence? Or, like Adam's story, did God place that creature on your journey to accomplish something bigger and deeper? Pets don't just bring joy and life to your home, they are there to bond with you for a greater purpose, one that you may not yet realize. Caring for animals is no small act, but as Proverbs 12:10 reminds us, the righteous provides for their livestock, but the heart of the wicked is cruel. This simple yet powerful verse affirms that caring for animals is an expression of the kindness and justice God wants us to practice. When you extend your heart to protect, feed, or comfort any living creature, you are reflecting a part of God's loving and caring nature for all of His creation. Think about it. Is the unconditional love your dog shows you a small glimpse of God's enduring love for each of us? Is the gentleness and peace of living with a cat not a reminder of the peace God intended for humans to experience? The way we care for our pets is not only a responsibility, but also a powerful demonstration of God's goodness and mercy working through us. When you love your pet, you are not only doing a kind deed for them, but you are also becoming a channel for the Creator's love and justice into the world. It is through the practice of loving and protecting animals that your spirituality is nourished and sublimated. As Matthew 25:40 puts it, "Whatever you did for one of the least of these, you did for me." While this verse is specifically about helping people, the principle can be extended to even the most vulnerable creatures who depend on our protection. Every act of kindness you show to a creature that cannot protect itself is not in vain. God sees it all and appreciates every action and sacrifice you make to care for His littlest creatures. Have you ever felt that when you care for a pet, your home suddenly becomes filled with joy and peace? These are not just beautiful moments, but also spiritual blessings that God has specially given you. These rewards may not be immediately present in material form, but they silently transform your life and soul in profound ways. Imagine the lasting impact of every act of love you show your pet. It resonates in the spirit realm, pleasing the Creator and strengthening your bond with God. It not only refines your character, but also guides you closer to Him. The Bible promises that one day the wolf will live with the lamb, the leopard will lie down with the kid, the calf and the lion will grow up together, and a little child will lead them. That is the vision of a perfect world where all creatures live in peace, a world that every act of love we do today is helping to move toward. The prophetic vision in Isaiah 11:6-9 is more than just a poetic verse. It is also a glimpse of God's future kingdom, where peace and harmony will reign over all of creation. In this promised kingdom, humans and animals will live together in perfect harmony, without pain, fear, or suffering. Your love for animals today is a small reflection of that kingdom. By caring for them, you are practicing heavenly values like compassion, peace, and unity, values that we will one day achieve together. Every loving act you show your pet today serves as preparation for that glorious future. The familiar sounds of barking, purring, and birds chirping around you are subtle reminders that God's plan includes not just humans, but all of His creation. When you live in harmony with nature and the animals around you, you align yourself with God's vision of a restored and renewed world. If this content touches your heart and inspires you, please take a moment to like and subscribe, not only to support us, but also to help spread this message to more people. We thank you for being a part of this wonderful community and sharing this meaningful spiritual message. Throughout the Bible, God calls us to reflect His compassionate and righteous nature in all aspects of our lives. However, when we ignore or mistreat animals, we stray from that goal, abandoning the holy responsibility that God has given us. This topic can sometimes be uncomfortable because it forces us to face the consequences of our actions or indifference. These consequences not only affect animals, but also directly impact ourselves and our community. Remember that the righteous care for the needs of animals, but the heart of the wicked is cruel. Living up to this call is the way we align ourselves with God's vision of love and justice. Proverbs 12:10 points out that when we ignore an animal's suffering or treat it with indifference, something in our hearts begins to change. The heart that God created to be kind and just can slowly become hardened. Every time we turn a blind eye to the suffering of a vulnerable creature, we take a step toward hardening our own character. Cruelty or neglect not only hurts animals, but also diminishes our ability to empathize and love those around us. A hardened heart not only ignores animals, but also strays from the love and compassion God wants us to have for all people. This reflects the message we send to the world, our families, and ourselves. The Bible teaches that justice and kindness are not optional. They are at the core of who we are as a person who reflects God's character. In Genesis 2:15, God placed humans in the Garden of Eden to work and care for it. This shows that He has entrusted us with a special role to be stewards. Caring for animals is a natural extension of this responsibility. If we fail to do so, we are abdicating a sacred mission that God gave us from the beginning. Every animal that comes into our lives, or every pet that becomes a part of our family, is an opportunity to fulfill that responsibility. But if we neglect or ignore their safety and well-being, We have abdicated our role as stewards of God's creation. Animals are more sensitive than people often realize. They are aware of not only their physical environment, but also of the emotions and energies around them. A home where animals are treated with indifference or mistreatment will quickly become a space filled with tension and imbalance. Studies have shown many real-life examples. Animals living in abusive environments often become aggressive and distrustful. Dogs that are abandoned or neglected often exhibit extreme anxiety through behaviors such as constant barking or destructive behavior. Even cats, known for their independence, can develop stress health problems if they do not feel safe in their environment. A recent article tells of a dog who, after years of mistreatment, bit its owner in self-defense. This was not the animal's fault, but a result of the environment it was forced to live in. When we neglect their safety, we put them on a path from which they cannot recover, robbing them of their natural, loving, and loyal nature. What's more, it's not just animals who suffer in these situations. A home filled with stress, indifference, and neglect can have a negative impact on the entire family. Negative emotions that accumulate in the air not only affect animals, but also disrupt the mood and relationships between members under one roof. On the contrary, when a family nurtures and loves animals, that love spreads throughout the living space, creating an atmosphere of peace, harmony, and shared joy among everyone. In Numbers 22:21-33, we find one of the most interesting and thought-provoking stories in the Bible. It is the story of Balaam, a man famous for his ability to bless or curse with the power of his words. He was commanded by God not to curse the Israelites, even though he was tempted by the rich rewards offered by King Balak. However, Balaam's ambition made him decide to disobey God. On the road to Moab, God sent an angel with a sword to block Balaam's path, but he, blinded by his ambition, did not see the angel. Surprisingly, the donkey, a humble animal, recognized this danger. 3 times the donkey tried to save Balaam. It turned away from the road, stopped, and even lay down. But instead of realizing what was wrong, Balaam responded by beating it. Finally, God allowed the donkey to speak, scolding Balaam, "What have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times?" At the same time, Balaam's eyes were opened, and he saw the angel ready to take his life if not for the donkey's intervention. It was then that Balaam realized that this little animal had saved his life. This story is not only a dramatic episode in the Bible, but also a profound reminder that God can use any animal to protect, guide, and bring us back to the right path when we stray from His will. How many times have you encountered an animal that acted strangely, as if it was trying to warn or send a message? Perhaps it was not just a coincidence. God could be using these creatures to show His care and purpose for you. The power of animals to protect and help people is not only found in the Bible, but is also evident in everyday life. Heartwarming stories from around the world attest to this. For example, Hachiko, a dog from Japan, a symbol of loyalty, waited at a train station for his owner for years after his death. Hachiko's actions not only moved the nation, but also reminded us of the deep bond between humans and animals. In another case, in Italy, a cat saved a family from a house fire by meowing continuously to wake them up in the middle of the night. Not only that, many animals also play special roles for humans, such as guide dogs for the blind, or animals trained to detect dangerous diseases like diabetes or cancer before humans are aware of them. These actions go beyond natural instinct. They are a glimpse into the sacred bond between animals and humans. When you love and care for the creatures God has placed in your life, you are not only helping them, but you are also honoring His creation. Your love for them reflects God's compassion and prepares you to live by the high values of His kingdom. Your special animal, whether it's your loyal dog, your adorable cat, or any other species, doesn't come into your life by accident. They have a purpose, and so does your life. Cherish the moments you spend with them, learn from them, and let your relationship bring you closer to God's plan. How do you think your relationship with animals has changed your life? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your animal lovers. See you in the next one.